Music. Good evening. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the September 28, 2011 regular meeting of the Civil Service Commission of the City of Glendale. Could we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Hatamian?
Here.
Manukian?
Here.
Gantis?
Here.
And for the record, Commissioner Devine and Gregorian are absent.
Thank you. Ms. Varpetian.
For purposes of this meeting, we would need to appoint a chair to officiate over the meeting because both the chair and the vice chair are absent. So at this time, we can open up the floor to nominations.
I will nominate Mr. Gantis as long as he promises to behave.
I second.
Okay. We're done.
And if everyone's in agreement,
We all concur.
okay.
He's going to behave.
What is next, please?
Minutes?
Everybody read the minutes?
Move to approve. And this-
Second.
Roll call?
Commissioner Hatamian?
Yes.
Manukian?
Yes.
Gantis?
Yes. Next?
Oral communications.
Discussion is limited to items not a part of the agenda. Each speaker is limited to 5 minutes. Commission may question the speaker, but there will be no debate or decision. I have no cards. Does anybody wish to address the commission at this time on anything other than what's on the agenda? Seeing no one, I close oral communications. What is next, please?
Eligible list established.
Mr. Doyle.
Mr. Chair, before we go into the eligible list established, I think at this point I would like to inform you that we'd like to carry over one of the items for this evening's agenda. That would be item number 8, dealing with the revision of the class specification for the police supervisory and management series and the open job bulletin for the police lieutenant. There's been a great deal of discussion on this particular matter involving both the chief of police as well as my office and the GPOA, and we are working toward some form of a resolution on this item that I think we would need a little additional time to address it. So with that, if I may, that we would postpone this item till our next regularly scheduled meeting, which would be October the 12th, 2011.
Thank you, Mr. Doyle. Chief, I would only address both the Chief and I see Mr. Shanae. I assume, Mr. Shanae, you're here for the GPOA. And the only concern I have is I understand we have a number of vacancies. This is it works in your plan, Chief? And Mr. Shanae, on behalf of the GPOA? Yes. Okay. I think we need a motion, do we not?
Mr. Doyle, I thought the whole purpose of having today's meeting was to address this issue. And just as a clarification,
Mr. Manukian.
excuse me?
Go ahead.
I'm
Continue.
going to lose that thing. What I was saying is this meeting was supposed to be canceled, and because of this item, because it was so urgent, we're here today. And so I presume the next meeting, we will be able to resolve this by then?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Manukian, that's our intention. As I said previously, the items on this particular agenda item have been somewhat contentious. There's been a lot of discussion, again, between the police chief, the association, our office, and we truly could benefit by having a little more time to direct towards this and, again, hopefully come to some form of a compromise.
Okay, so whatever they agree upon, then it'll be at our next meeting to be voted on.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Move to, do we need a motion, sir? Okay.
Yes.
Move to
Continue.
continue it to the next meeting.
Continue item number 8 to the meeting of October 12th.
Yeah, second.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I don't hear any objection. That'll pass unanimously. So we will continue item number 8, the police supervisory and management series and open job bulletin for approval, police lieutenant, until October 12th.
Chief, do you need an escort to your car?
For him.
Okay. Thank you. Jesus.
We will wait a moment while you all quietly leave the room. Thank you. It's not very often I can tell police officers to do something so.
Outside.
And the chief. What is next?
Revised class specification for approval, power plant mechanic series.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
we never did get to eligible list established.
Oh, I'm sorry. We never did. I apologize.
This is a note and file item. It's simply a reflection of the eligible lists that have been established since our last meeting 2 weeks ago. We have 3 lists, all promotional. And again, the report indicates the total number of applications received, and in the far right column, the total number of candidates who were successful in those processes in making it to the list. With that, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions?
None.
What is next?
Revised class specification for approval, power plant mechanics series.
Mr. Doyle?
Chair, members of the Commission, this is a revision of an existing series over the Power Plant Mechanics series within the Glendale Water and Power Department's power plant operation. This is a specification that's not been updated since 2003, and really this is just part of our ongoing effort to revise these specifications, make sure they're updated and contemporary. We'll see some minor changes to this, mainly focusing on the machinery, the equipment that is utilized at the power plant. It's an old facility, but it's constantly being updated, and there is some reference as well to the landfill, which we recently acquired and have staff now at the power or generating power out of the landfill. Really, there's not a great deal of significant change other than, again, to update the specification. So with that, if you have questions, I'd be happy to try and answer them. And Ms. Kasparian from my staff is here, as well as Tom Toogood from the power plant. So if you have questions, happy
Questions?
to try and answer.
What is your pleasure?
Move to approve.
Second.
With that, without any objection, this matter will be approved unanimously. What is next?
Revised class specification for approval, power plant operations supervisory series.
Mr. Doyle?
Mr. Chair, members of the Commission, this is a similar job series. This is the supervisory series within the power plant. A revision here, and similar to the previous one, it's our effort to make sure these specifications are updated and contemporary. In the supervisory series, there's a much greater emphasis, particularly on this group of the various environmental regulations and the monitoring and compliance. You see lots of regulations involving the Environmental Protection Agency, the AQMD, Cal OSHA, all of which our plant needs to comply with. And really those are the primary changes in this specification. So again, if you have questions on that, I'd be happy to try and answer them. We have staff here from both HR and the power plant if you have questions.
Any questions? I have one. On the power plant operations supervisor, we removed the requirement of 1 year of which has been in a responsible supervisory capacity. Why? Page 404.
I'll have Mr. Soto address that.
Thank you, Mr. Soto.
Good afternoon, Chair Gantis, members of the Commission. That was just a language cleanup. Let me take a look here. Essentially, if you read the experience requirement, it already has a requirement of experience leading the operations of a power plant, so I kind of figured 1 year of which is in a supervisory capacity was redundant. So it was pretty much just language cleanup, but the supervisory requirement is still there.
Is it listed under the minimum requirements, or?
No, it isn't. I mean, no, it isn't. What he's saying is it's basically repetitive language. But
Requires 6 years.
Right, 6 years experience in supervising the operation of a turbine-driven steam plant, so forth. And then it used to say including 1 year in a responsible supervisory capacity. I figure that is already embedded in the existing language.
Well, it's basically the same for all three of the power plant shift supervisors, 4 years on the operating staff. Then the senior power plant gets 4 years supervising the operation, which means that they've had 4 years of experience on the operating staff. Is that? No, then I guess they would have to be a supervisor on there. And then we just add 2 more years to become a power plant operations supervisor. I don't know. Does that seem enough? I don't know. Where's our person from the staff? If they're happy with it, I'm happy, I guess. would certainly probably want somebody to have some, I'm hopeful that we're breeding from within so that we have somebody that has the supervisory experience as either a power plant or a senior power plant supervisor or equivalent.
Yeah, we're pleased with that.
With the way it is or the way it was?
Oh, the way it is now. Yeah.
Okay. Anything further?
Move to approve?
Second?
And without any objection, the matter will be approved unanimously. What is next?
Revised class specification for approval, GIS analyst.
Mr. Doyle?
Mr. Chair, members of the Commission, this is a revision for the classification of GIS analyst. This was last revised in 1995. GIS stands for Geographic Information Systems, and this application is used within the Public Works Department and many other departments throughout the city. This is technology that was quite innovative back in when it was first invented in the 80s and 90s, and it continues to be upgraded. And I think that's the main gist of this revision, is to make sure that all of the recent technological aspects of GIS are addressed in the specification. The minimum requirements, you'll see a bit of a beefing up of both the experience and educational requirements. Again, as this technology has evolved, we have more people that have been able to not only get experience in this field, but also attend school, and colleges now have this as part of their curriculum. So what we're seeing is really a more technically focused minimum requirements, whereas before there were requirements were a little more general. You see a business administration background, public administration background, and now it's pretty well focused on the GIS field or computer science and that sort of thing. So with that, again, this is a revision, and if you have questions on it, we have staff here. Mr. Galanian, city engineer, is here, as well as Mr. Soto, to answer any questions you may have.
Mr. Manukian.
Mr. Doyle, just as a curiosity, looking at the org chart, right next to city engineer, what is a real property agent? What is the, just for my information, what is
Mr. Chair, members of the Commission, Commissioner Manukian, a real property agent, as I understand it, is the individual responsible for, I believe, acquiring property for city use and managing the,
So tapping into my business?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I just want to make sure.
Actually, why don't
Enhancing your business.
Thank you.
why don't we have Mr. Galani?
Not talking to you anymore. I'm just kidding. No, I was just trying to understand
let's hear what he has to
position that is.
Before you condemn him, let's hear what it is he has to
The
say.
Chair, members of the Commission, Commissioner Manukian, just to elaborate on what Mr. Doyle said, in the last few years, actually, we have not acquired any property from individuals or private property owners. The main responsibilities of this person are essentially processing documents for vacation of right-of-way.
Eminent domain, does that come into play?
Yes,
Okay.
he gets involved in that. Right of entries, processing easements, covenants and agreements, title search for the entire city, actually.
Okay, so it's not just the engineering or the Public Works Department.
Correct. He resides in the engineering, Public Works engineering, but he helps out for other departments within the city.
Thank you. Just kidding, by the way.
What is your pleasure?
Move to approve?
Second?
Without objection, the matter is approved unanimously. What is that? We are going to continue item number 8. What is next?
Agenda forecast.
Mr. Doyle?
Mr. Chair, members of the Commission, you have our agenda forecast for our next few meetings. The next meeting is October the 12th, which we will be carrying over the previous item that relating to the police lieutenant. On October 26th, we have scheduled a report on our quarterly advertising and budget expenditures, and on the 9th, we have nothing scheduled, 9th of November, but we do anticipate having meetings, both the November the 9th as well as December the 14th. We get into the holiday period, so we'll be having probably one meeting in each of those months. But we do have, as you know, some other civil service appeal hearings which don't appear on this report. But yeah, suffice it to say, your workload will be busy for the next few months.
We will probably have deliberations on one of our matters on that October 12th as well, so we might want to keep that in mind when we're setting the meeting. What is next?
Reports and information.
Are there any reports, information to come before this commission? Not appearing. What is next?
Civil Service Commission and staff comments.
Any commission staff or staff comments? Not appearing. What is next?
Adjournment.
To adjourn.
We are adjourned.
Thank you.
I'm going to leave my...